Howdy folks, Kaloth here. This is going to be another long one, so buckle up, but I wanted to dive into Datacron Set 16, which was patched into the game just yesterday, July 2nd, and is going to be active in this upcoming conquest, and is going to be what we're going to be dealing with for the next few months. So this set is unusual in a few ways. I've got some thoughts on it, and then I want to dive in to the alignment mechanics, the faction mechanics, and some specific characters that I think are going to be important in the upcoming meta. So let's take a look at that. One of the first things you notice when you take a look at this set is that the faction mechanic is different from anything we've seen before. Previously, faction has always been faction tag like Rebel, Galactic Republic, First Order, Inquisitorius, etc. In this case, our faction bonuses on this Datacron set are based on character roles. So support, tank, healer, and attacker. So that's one big change. The other big change, and I don't know how I feel about this one. The level 9 here has just a load of different characters. And most of these characters have multiple options, and by multiple I mean more than two usually. Now, I went through before starting this and wrote down some numbers to get a quick comparison on this. The previous two sets, set 15 and set 14, each has roughly the same number of alignment options, right? This has 10, 5 each. The set 14 had 10, set 15 had 8. No big deal there. They all have an identical number of level 6 options, right? Each had 4 factions or 4 roles, 4 tags, and each of those has 5 options, so no change there. Here's where things change pretty dramatically. Set 14 had 15 possible characters for level 9. One of those had 2 options, so you had 16 total options for a level 9 bonus. Set 15 had 16 characters. Each of those had 1 option. So both set 14 and set 15 had 16 options for level 9. Set 16, this new set, has 21 characters. Between those, you have 38 total options for level 9. So we've more than doubled our pool of level 9 options. And a lot of it is stuff like Coruscant Underworld Police here. You've got Cup with 3 different options available to him. You have Gamorrean Guard with 2, 000 with 2. You have a lot of trash in these level 9 options. And it seems, at least to my viewing, and I'm sure people will agree, this is meant to push players to re-roll Datacrons more, or just level a bunch of Datacrons up, right? The problem there is Conquest no longer gives level 3 re-roll mats from battles, so you're getting those basically from Territory Wars only, or from the Crystal Store. Rerolling level 9s is expensive. It always has been, and this makes targeting a specific level 9 much more difficult and much more irritating. So obviously they kind of want to push us to reroll more, which I get is something that's, monetized, but this feels bad to me already. This does not feel good. I hope this does not continue this very wide pool. With a lot of extra options for each character. I would expect it to be a feel bad moment to re-roll and get the character you want, but not the bonus that you want, right? This past Datacron set had kind of chase options for each faction, and we've got those here too, and that's annoying enough to re-roll your level 6 trying to get the right option for your level 6. This just makes it that much harder. So rant on that over. I'm just not very happy about it. Let's take a look at some of the winners and losers here, because we do have more winners than losers. Level 3, nothing is super, new here. Whenever dark side allies inflict damage over time on an enemy, they gain a stack of protection up, 5% stacking until the end of the encounter. This is great. This has always been great. This works especially well with Darth Vader, with Lord Vader, with a lot of your Sith teams. Sith Triumvirate will want this time around for sure, I think. Also, the first time a dark side tank ally is defeated, revive them with 100% health, reset their cooldowns, and they gain a bonus turn, limit once per battle. Dark side tank allies, you're talking about, Royal Guard, you're talking about Ninth Sister, Kylo Ren Unmasked, and of course the big one is Reva, who is already difficult to deal with as is. Of course, the problem here is that, Kylo Ren Unmasked, Ninth Sister, and Reva all have their own Datacron set that's running concurrently with this, right? This is set 16. Set 15, which is going to be around until, I believe, September, has those good First Order Datacrons, those good Inquisitor or Inquisitorious Datacrons. So they'll be using those. Once those expire, I expect them to kind of shift over to this, but it kind of takes the oomph out of that for a little bit. Whenever dark side allies use a basic ability, they gain speed up for 2 turns. Think about teams that use a lot of assists from Darksiders. In particular, I'm thinking, Emperor Palpatine, Mara Jade, Starkiller. They're the core of the Starkiller team in GAC, and they are built on Palpatine assisting off of Mara Jade, leading to Starkiller assisting off of Palpatine. Just giving them those buffs is nice. Whenever dark side allies use a special ability, they gain 15% turn meter. That's just generally good, right? Turn meter's always good. Everybody's using specials, so if you're using specials, gain turn meter. 4 out of 5 of these are great. Now, the 5th, dark side allies start with protection up 20% for 2 turns. None of these are really new. This is one that we've seen a lot. It is useful-ish. The problem is that for most of this, or at least for the next few months, you have to compare this against set 15 with its bulk Datacrons, which give, max health, max protection based on, the number of characters that share that alignment. So this just doesn't hold water compared to that. Light side gets a little bit less. Whenever light side allies inflict a debuff on an enemy, deal damage equal to 2% of that enemy's max health. It's kind of the Amplify Agony Datacron. It's pretty decent, especially for debuff heavy teams like Admiral Raddus, CLS, that kind of thing. At the beginning of their turn, light side allies have a 25% chance to dispel all debuffs on themselves. It's good. It's nothing to write home about. Whenever light side allies use a basic ability, they gain crit chance up, crit damage up, and offense up for 2 turns. It's going to be big for a lot of teams, especially teams that attack out of turn a lot. This is another one that CLS can, make a lot of good use out of. Also, Phoenix, who I think are one of the big winners of this set. This is great for Phoenix, who are just all about the mass assists. Light side allies recover 2% health when they critically hit an enemy. It's worse than nothing, it's better than nothing, but it's not a big deal. And then whenever light side allies inflict a debuff, they gain 2% crit chance stacking for 3 turns. If this was till end of battle, maybe that would be better, but it's not amazing. So there are good options on both sides. Definitely more dark side than light side here. But none of that is super interesting. What is interesting is these level 6s. I'm not going to go over all these because there are a lot of just kind of filler. They're good, like for instance, a filler option for support. At the end of their turn, support allies recover 50% protection. If they inflicted at least 5 debuffs that turn, there's probably a couple of support who would benefit from that. But honestly, each of these has 1, maybe 2, really good options here. Similar to what we saw in the last set with their level 6. For support, this is all one bonus, right? Whenever a support ally starts their turn, dispel tenacity up from all enemies, and then reduce their tenacity by 100% until the end of the encounter. So you're making your enemy already, more susceptible to debuffs. And then, whenever a support inflicts a debuff on an enemy, which you just made that easier, all allies get benefits based on their rolls for the rest of the encounter. So these are stacking benefits that are going to last till the end of the encounter whenever a support inflicts a debuff. Attackers get 10% crit damage. Healers get 5% tenacity. Supports get 20% potency. And tanks get 5% defense. And then whenever a support grants a buff to another ally, they also inflict buff immunity for 1 turn on all enemies. So just a lot of good in one option here. This is definitely what you want for support. Everything else, again, none of them are bad, but most of them are, I would call filler, right? For tanks, the really nice one here is at the start of their turn, tanks gain 20% of their max health as max protection. So yes, some of those characters like Darth Malak and, characters that normally don't have any protection are going to have some protection here. And then the first time they lose all of their protection, they recover 100% protection and gain 50% max protection. And then whenever tanks are inflicted with a debuff, they taunt for 2 turns. While taunting, they receive 50% less damage from out-of-turn attacks and assist whenever allies use a special ability. That's all one bonus again, so you're getting 20% max health as max protection. The first time you lose all your max protection, you're recovering it all and gaining 50% max protection on top of that. Whenever you're inflicted with a debuff, you're going to taunt, and while you're taunting, you're going to take 50% less damage from out-of-turn attacks and assist whenever allies use a special ability. It's a lot for one thing. Think about your important tanks in the game, right? Think about those dark side tanks that we mentioned earlier. Chrysanthemum, Royal Guard, KRU, etc. Also think about your light side tanks, right? The JMLs of the world. This does not preclude GLs, right? General Kenobi, Mace Windu, all of these tanks. By the way, this is giving non-taunting tanks the option to taunt, right? So whenever tanks are inflicted with a debuff, they taunt for 2 turns. Well, guess what? The Resistance Datacron is expiring. Jedi Training Rey is a tank who does not have a taunt, but can be really loaded up with dodge if you can juice up her mastery through Rey. This is one of those abilities that giving this to a team with JTR on it means that JTR is going to be able to taunt, which, with that heavy dodge and taunt could be pretty irritating to deal with. There are a couple of other good tank options here. It's not all filler. One of the ones that stands out is tank allies start the battle with damage immunity for 2 turns that can't be copied. It can be dispelled, and it doesn't make them immune to instant defeat, so it's not like amazing, but this could be quite good in some circumstances, right? So next up, healers. Again, they've got 1 to chase here, and that's this top one. A lot of options on this one level 6. They are whenever a character is healed by an ally healer, reduce their cooldowns by 1. Whenever an ally healer is critically hit, they recover 10% health and gain 10% speed, stacking up to 100 for the rest of the encounter. Whenever an ally is revived on an ally healer's turn, all allies recover 100% max health and protection. And the first time each healer ally is defeated, they're revived and recover 100% max health. The big one that comes to my mind on this is Visas Marr, who is one of the level 9s we're going to talk about. This just makes Visas better on all fronts, right? Usually Visas is... Usually she's a bit useless. She gets thrown in on Starkiller teams just because he needs a light side unaligned force user, and she fits that bill. Cal Kestis fits that bill better, but he's got a job with Seer or with Rey, so usually Starkiller just grabs Visas and calls it a day. Visas has a pretty good level 9 Datacron that we've seen a couple of times and is returning in this set, so that already makes Visas more interesting for Starkiller, and then something like this where Visas does have a revive, she does have a heal, she's going to be able to trigger all of these points on this level 6, which is going to make her better. Some of the other characters that are going to be useful for this are going to be things like Jedi Consular. I believe Barriss Offee is a healer. Even IG 12, or no, sorry, IG 11. It's IG 12 and Grogu, and then it's IG 11. But yeah, IG 11 on the Scoundrel team is classified as a healer. He is a healer who taunts and kind of acts like a tank. So the claws, whenever an ally is critically hit, or whenever an ally healer is critically hit, they recover 10% health and gain 10 speed, stacking to 100 is going to be a big deal. So not amazing for him, but like I said, the first one that really comes to mind here is Visas. And then finally, Attacker. Attacker actually has much more simple options, but there is a clear winner here, and that is that whenever an ally attacker critically hits, they attack again once per turn, or otherwise they gain 10% defense penetration stacking. So whenever an ally attacker critically hits, they'll attack once per turn, and when they don't, or they'll attack again once per turn, and when they don't critically hit, they're going to gain stacking defense penetration. And then whenever an attacker attacks out of turn, they deal bonus true damage, which can't be evaded. There are a lot of teams that are going to count on out of turn attacks. A big one being Phoenix. I mentioned this on the light side level 3s, and I'll mention it again. Phoenix, I think, is one of the big winners here, and this is one of the things that helps them. Everything else here, again, is, it's not bad. Whenever an attacker ally defeats an enemy, take a bonus turn. Sure, why not? Whenever an attacker ally uses a special ability on their turn, they gain riposte for 2 turns. Sure, why not? I mean, for filler here, there's a lot of good options. But I really like that out of turn option here, and there are some reasons why, right? So let's take a look at some of the key characters here. So we've got a lot of kind of, I don't want to say trash because I don't want to be hyperbolic, but a lot of trash options here, right? Of course, on Underworld Police, there's a possibility you may want to relic him for Ahsoka. He may end up being a requirement. Or you may have him reliced for Rise of the Empire Operations. Otherwise, you're not going to want to relic Cup, so these are going to be useless. If you do have Cup up, honestly, I haven't dug into these very much. This wordy one looks like it'll be okay. I don't know that Coruscant Underworld Police is who we want to put our focus on. There are a couple here like Gar Saxon who are, seem good. If you have Gar Saxon at relics and are using Darkside Mandalorians, this seems great, right? But as far as the big winners, the first one that comes to my mind is Enfys Nest. Datacron Set 14, the one that is expiring next week. One of the key level 9s from that was Darth Sidious. It set up a lot of 1v3 or 1v5 options for Darth Sidious as a solo character. I think this Enfys Nest Datacron is going to do that for her. But also, nothing requires her to be a solo character, right? Nothing in this Datacron is specific to her being alone. So, what is her Datacron here? She's got 2 options, and one is not nearly as good. But the good one is Enfys Nest is immune to max health reduction. When she inflicts a debuff on an enemy, she gains critical damage up 20% until the end of the encounter, so she's just going to continue ramping. She inflicts debuffs all the time. Whenever she uses a special ability, she attacks again, dealing an additional 20% damage as true damage. This is important because she's an attacker, so she's also going to get that out of turn true damage from the attacker Datacron. So this is just more true damage whenever she uses a special ability. And when she attacks out of turn, which again ties to that attacker Datacron, she exposes the target enemy for 2 turns, which, by the way, is inflicting a debuff on an enemy, so it's going to trigger this Datacron, which is going to give her 20% stacking critical damage. And then at the start of her turn, her damage is increased by 10% stacking for every enemy turn taken before this turn until the end of it. Pardon me. this lasts until the end of her turn. So it triggers at the start of her turn, lasts until the end of her turn. And she will assist the next other ally to take a turn. So this plays into a couple of things, right? You can throw her in with dash. You can throw her in with anybody, right? Anybody who she's a scoundrel. I believe she's a smuggler. Of course, she's light side, so she works well with Rey. My biggest thing here is Enfys Nest has always been just this close on being able to solo a lot of squads. I think this is going to put her over the top for a lot of solos. That's what I'm looking for out of this Datacron for Enfys, as I'm looking for those 1v5 or 1v3 opportunities. So Enfys Nest, I think, is the first big winner here. The next is Wat Tambor. Wat Tambor, this Datacron is deceptively simple. Whenever another ally is defeated, Wat Tambor takes a bonus turn and their cooldowns are reset. Wat Tambor has a revive. So whenever an ally is defeated, he takes a bonus turn and resets his cooldown, which is going to allow him to revive that ally. He fits on a lot of different squads, but his revive is going to be pretty relegated to Separatists, right? So we're talking about Admiral Trench teams, we're talking about Newt Gunray-led Separatists, or we're talking about throwing Wat Tambor in with General Grievous, which is not unheard of, right? Whenever an ally dies, Wat Tambor takes a bonus turn, revives them, boom, we're ready to go. Pardon me, Wat is a support, and he inflicts a ton of debuffs through his kit, right? Well, when we go back and look at the big support DC here, whenever a support ally inflicts a debuff, all allies get benefits based on their roles. So you're going to be stacking up that crit damage on your attackers, that tenacity on your healers, potency on your supports, defense on your tanks, and they are just going to continue to revive. Also, whenever support grants a buff to another ally, he does grant a lot of buffs to his team, inflicts buff immunity for one turn on all enemies. So I think Wat Tambor is going to be one of the key Datacron options here. A lot of us have him at Relic 7 for Jedi Master Kenobi already, so your relics here are primed and ready to go for this level 9. I think it's a slam dunk. I mentioned Visas before, and I'll mention her again here. This is not a new Datacron, right? We've seen this a couple of times tied to unaligned Force user faction. The first time Visas Marr is defeated, if there's at least one other active ally, revolve all other defeated allies, and other allies recover 100% health and protection, and gain 100% turn meter and 100% offense until the end of battle. Reading that out loud, I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the same Datacron that we've had for Visas before. Visas Marr DC SWGOH. Let's just see here. I don't know. I'm not going to spend a ton of time Googling this while I'm recording a video. I actually don't think that's her same level 9. I want to say her previous level 9 was something more akin to Wat, where when somebody died, she would take a bonus turn and be able to immediately revive them. This is still good, right? The healer bonus from level 6, the speed up on basic for your dark side level 3. All of that works well with the Starkiller team. And this is great, right? The first time Visas is defeated, if there's at least one other active ally, revive everybody else, and everybody else recovers 100% health and protection, gains 100% turn meter, and 100% offense. It's good, not great, because I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed now. I put her on my list thinking it was the same. I don't think this is the same. It's still really good. I feel like it's probably not going to turn the tide as much as I expected. So maybe she's not one of the winners here. Sorry about that. Moving on down my list. Sabine Wren is one who I think is going to be really interesting. Again, we've talked about the level 3s for light side for basic attacks. We've talked about the level 6 for attackers with the attacking out of turn. Now we have Sabine Wren here as the level 9. Whenever an enemy takes a turn, Sabine Wren takes a bonus turn. During this bonus turn, Sabine deals 100% more damage. This bonus turn can't trigger this effect on enemies. So, basically what's happening here is Phoenix rely on a turn meter train, right? Once they start, they want to keep going. They want to keep triggering Captain Rex's Omicron, his unique that's going to allow them all to be assisting, all allow them to be, just continuing to deal more damage. They attack out of turn a ton. The problem is, once an enemy is able to take a turn and break that chain, the squad can fall apart. Sabine helps to stem the bleeding, right? If your enemies do start to take a turn, they're not going to continue to take a turn, because as soon as they take a turn, Sabine's going to take a turn, and you've got a chance to restart your engine there. So I think the L3 and the L6 is going to give Phoenix much more damage, and I think this Sabine DC is really going to help them maintain that engine. I'm really curious to see what they're going to be taking out. They already take out Third Sister, Reva. Even with her Datacron right now, in some situations they can take her out. With this Datacron, I think it suddenly becomes a fair game again, as far as Phoenix versus Inquisitors. So, especially once the Reva Datacron expires, I expect Phoenix to do a lot of big things. And the other thing here is, Phoenix Sabine is very likely a GL Ahsoka requirement. So even if you only have her at level 3 from the Lightspeed bundle, taking her to Relic 5 to get to this Datacron, not going to be that big a deal, I think. So Sabine Wren, this is a good one. Darth Nihilus. Darth Nihilus has a wordy one, right? Whenever Darth Nihilus reduces his cooldowns, he gains 75% offense and 20% turn meter for one turn. His kit is really about reducing the cooldown of Annihilate to where he can, insta-kill somebody. Whenever he defeats an enemy, expose all enemies for 2 turns, which can't be evaded. And again, his kit is about getting to that insta-kill so he can defeat an enemy. Whenever he inflicts damage over time on an enemy, all allies gain 3 stacks of heal over time for 2 turns. We've got that really good. Whenever a dark side ally inflicts a damage over time, your allies gain protection over time, or gain max protection. This ties into that nicely. And then if there's another Sith support ally, yes, he is support, at the start of the encounter, Darth Nihilus gains 100% max health for the rest of the encounter. That line there is basically if Darth Traya is your lead. Traya is support. She is the typical leader that Darth Nihilus would be under. And if she's there, he's going to have double max health, right? He's a support, so again, going back to our level 6 support Datacron, he's going to be reducing enemy potency, enemy tenacity, so he can land those debuffs easier. And then, of course, when he does land those debuffs, he's going to be buffing his own team with those stacking buffs, and he's going to be inflicting buff immunity on the enemy team. This is just going to make Sith Triumvirate that much better. I've been using Triumvirate more on offense than I do on defense. On this account, because my Triumvirate are still Gear 12. They do a ton of work at Gear 12, but you don't want to put them on defense. On my other account, they're Relic 5. I think my Darth Traya is Relic 6 on that account. But I still don't put them on defense because they are very useful as an offensive tool. With this, I imagine they'll still be on offense, but maybe it does open up Sith Triumvirate on defense again. So, maybe that's an option here. Jedi Consular. Yeah, really. Consular is interesting because he's a raid unit, and the Battle for Naboo raid is very kind to Jedi healers, and so he's somebody that I think a lot of people who are going to be participating in Battle for Naboo are going to be relicking him up anyway. And for a lot of people, I know myself, when I'm looking at the raid, I'm thinking Relic 5 is the floor. So if you're one of those people that are bringing Consular up to Relic 5 anyway, this is honestly a really good level 9. It's a big one. Let's get into it. It's while Jedi Consular is active, all Jedi allies are immune to healing immunity. When he uses his basic ability, reduces cooldowns by 1 and gains 7% max health, stacking up to 210% for the rest of the encounter. When he heals an ally, dispel all debuffs on them, and they gain Jedi's Will for 2 turns. Jedi's Will is the unique debuff for Jedi Knight Luke. To remind us what that is, that's 100% counter chance. That's 25% offense and 25% speed. So whenever he heals an ally, dispel all debuffs on them, and they're going to get 100% counter chance, 25% offense, and 25% speed. Really good for a variety of Jedi or Galactic Republic / Jedi teams, right? By the way, it's interesting here. Whenever he heals an ally, dispel buffs on them, and they gain that, does not require them to be any specific type of ally. Does not require Jedi here. Whenever Jedi Consular uses Jedi Healing, revive all non-Jedi allies with 100% max health and max protection. So this is another one. This not just doesn't require allies, it actually specifically triggers on non-allies. What teams do we have that mix Jedi and non-Jedi allies? How about Queen Amidala, right? So something to consider on that one. Whenever Jedi Consular uses attack as defense, which is one of his specials. It's an attack. Deal bonus true damage equal to 50% of his max health, which can't be evaded. It's nice. It's not a deal breaker here, right? And then the first time Jedi Consular falls below 25% health, he gains 100% evasion for 2 turns. I don't know where Jedi Consular is going to end up during this meta, but I am pretty confident he's going to be somewhere. Again, he's in that sweet spot where you want to relic him anyway for the raid. And if you're relicking him for the raid, this is the reward, right? This works with Jedi Master Kenobi teams. Who's a non-Jedi ally on a JMK team that we may want to revive? How about Commander Ahsoka-Tano, right? This works on Qui-Gon Jinn teams. Why not, right? The revive isn't going to happen because you're not going to have any non-Jedi allies. But everything else is going to be nice, you know. How about 100% counter chance, 25% offense, and 25% speed on Qui-Gon Jinn's team? Seems good, right? All of this is just great. Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Master Kenobi, Queen Amidala, maybe even JML, maybe even a weird Bastila Shan team. I mean, there are a lot of different options that this could take. My first thought being Queen Amidala. If you're not somebody who has the Padawan Obi-Wan level 9 Datacron, which was only available during his marquee, right? But now you have Queen Amidala and her team up, or will during the life of this Datacron set. This is going to be up for a couple of months. You have those up. You're looking for a Datacron for them, but you don't have the Padawan Obi-Wan Datacron. This seems great to me. So, very interested to see where this goes, but I'm pretty confident we're going to be seeing Jedi Consular across one of those teams, maybe across multiple, right? Just because of how good this Datacron is, how much people are going to want to relic him for the raid anyway, and the nice cross-section of meta teams that, you know, that Galactic Republic and Jedi tag kind of get you into, right? So, moving on from him, we've got Iden Versio. A very simple Datacron, but very strong. At the start of the encounter, Iden gains Taunt, which can't be dispelled until she is defeated. Remember, Iden auto-revives if there are other Imperial troopers on her team, so this just keeps them alive longer. Iden can be very irritating to deal with on defense without the right team. This makes her more irritating to deal with. A counterpoint to that being the previous Datacron set, which this is going to run concurrently with for a few months, has no revive options in several of their factions, including Galactic Republic and Inquisitors. So bring a no revive DC, and Iden Versio is much less threatening. And then also, whenever a non-droid Imperial Trooper is defeated, she gains Taunt, which can't be dispelled until she is defeated. So this is just going to make Iden very difficult to deal with on defense, unless you have that no revive Datacron, or unless you bring a team that is going to make her, be unable to revive. I believe Gas can handle that pretty easily. General Anakin Skywalker has, anti-revive clauses in his kit. Going forward, we've got really one more to talk about, and that's Barriss. She's maybe not as interesting as Jedi Consular, but she's stronger than Jedi Consular, right? Barriss has always been good. And this just makes her better. Whenever she uses a special ability, all Jedi allies gain 15% max protection, stacking up to 150% for the rest of the encounter. Whenever she gains turn meter, all allies gain 10% max health, stacking up to 150% also for the rest of the encounter, and she dispels all buffs from a random enemy. And whenever Barriss is critically hit, all Jedi allies gain 10% critical damage, stacking for the rest of the encounter. Again, pick your team. JML, Qui-Gon Jinn. She's gonna do some work for just about any Jedi team. Much less interesting than Jedi Consular. I think probably the best place to use her here is going to be with Jedi Master Luke, potentially. The extra max protection is going to be helpful there. And just making them tankier in general is going to be nice. I don't know that she's going to move the needle much for anybody, but she's got the right tags, Jedi and Galactic Republic, and she's a character who's always been good anyway, right? So putting her, on another team, the opportunity cost there is already pretty small. There are a lot of other decent call-outs here. The last one is probably Stormtrooper Han. He's a rebel scoundrel tank. Works well with Sana Starros, but might work well with Leia Organa, depending on what you're looking for. Whenever he taunts, all allies gain protection up 50% for 3 turns. And while he is taunting, he gains 100% counter chance and defense, and is immune to critical hits. Whenever he removes turn meter from an enemy, reset Draw Fire's cooldown. Draw Fire is his taunt that's also going to be granting turn meter to his team. And then all allies have 50% offense, while Stormtrooper Han's health is above 50%, and all allies gain 70% defense, while his health is below 50%. He's a tank. Leia Organa is a tank, right? So you've got some pretty good tank Datacrons in here already. He is going to be making that team harder to deal with just by sticking around himself as a taunting tank. But he's also going to be removing turn meter from enemies, which is part of his kit and part of Leia's kit. And when he does, it's going to reset Drawfire's cooldown, which is going to make him taunt. But importantly, it's going to give the team turn meter and help them continue to be rolling. And then, given all allies 50% offense, while his health is above 50%, sounds like it would supercharge Captain Drogon to me. And then everybody gains 70% defense while his health is below 50% defense. I think this... I don't know if this is going to be enough to combat Darth Bane. Right now, one of the biggest weaknesses of Leia on defense is Darth Bane. Darth Bane's Datacron is expiring, and then giving this Datacron to Leia teams is kind of a little bit extra oomph, maybe a big deal. So those are the Datacrons that I'm looking for this set, right? This set is going to be painful. This, again, 38 options across level 9, where previously we were getting 15 or 16, right? That hurts. It's not going to be easy to get the level 9s you want. But be careful what you take to level 9, right? If you're targeting something like Stormtrooper Han, focus on tank Datacrons, right? You know, roll your tank Datacrons up to level 9 until you've got your Stormtrooper Han, right? If you're looking for Visas Marr, you know, roll your healer Datacrons. You can still target these, but it's just going to be harder. There are a lot of options. The pool is wider here. I don't like that. I'm giving my feedback to Meathead about that, saying, look, this is a feel bad. I don't care for it. If you don't like it, I suggest you do the same. As always, keep your comments to CG constructive. Keep them concise. Remember that they're a business and they have to make money. So, don't expect everything for free. Be reasonable with it. But, if we can give some constructive feedback to them about what we like and what we don't like, we can shape the game to be better than it is. And we've seen examples of that for a while now. So I'm giving that feedback. If you don't like it, give your feedback. But otherwise, those are my thoughts on the Set 16 Datacron set. It is a big one. It is, if you are playing in a division that has strong Datacron focus, right? If you're in Kyber 2, Kyber 1, where everybody's having Datacrons, be ready. You're going to be seeing a lot of these, and it is probably more than any Datacron set we've seen in a while. This has the potential to really shake up the meta. So we'll see where it goes. What are your thoughts? Let me know below. What are you looking for? What do you like and dislike about this set? Thank you so much for watching. If you like it, you know how YouTube works. You know what to do. Have a great day, and may the Force be with you.